All right, let's dive right into this explainer and explore a crucial yet honestly frequently misunderstood corner of veterans' benefits. Exactly how the VA compensates for disabilities that break right through the standard limits. Welcome to VA Special Monthly Compensation 101.
A lot of veterans believe that reaching 100% schedular rating is the absolute finish line. They think, well, once you hit that 100% mark, you've completely maxed out the system. But we're going to challenge that pervasive myth right now. If you or a loved one are living with severe, life-altering service-connected conditions, 100% is absolutely not the maximum, not even close. Think about standard VA disability ratings like this. They're fundamentally designed to replace lost wages. They estimate the average impairment in your earning capacity. But what happens when an injury goes way past just your ability to work? Standard ratings simply don't cover the profound life-altering catastrophes of losing limbs, losing your eyesight, or losing the ability to literally care for yourself on a daily basis. And that is exactly where special monthly compensation steps in to fill that massive gap.
So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. Breaking the 100% ceiling. 2. What is SMC? 3. The SMC alphabet explained. 4. 2026 rates and financial stakes. And finally, 5. How to claim your benefits. Let's get started.
All right. Section 1. Breaking the 100% ceiling, and exactly why standard ratings just aren't enough.
Look, we've got to be real here. For veterans dealing with truly extreme hardships, we're talking conditions like full paralysis, severe traumatic brain injuries, or multiple amputations. The standard compensation caps, they just fall totally short of providing the necessary support. The standard rating scale is a ceiling, but SMC is the sky right above it. The VA recognized that a veteran who literally cannot leave their bed faces a vastly different reality than a veteran who is rated 100% but can still manage their basic daily needs. So the system had to adapt.
Moving right along to Section 2, what is SMC? Let's define this beyond 100% benefit. If we strip away all the legal jargon, special monthly compensation, or SMC, is basically a parallel compensation architecture. Governed by 38 U.S.C. Section 1114, it's a tax-free monetary benefit that looks at the whole person and the really severe compounding impacts of combined disabilities. So it's not just a bigger rating, right? It's an entirely different category of compensation specifically designed to pay for the extra care and assistance that a severely disabled veteran actually requires to survive and maintain their dignity.
Okay, Section 3, the SMC alphabet explained. We're going to climb these tiers together. So right at the foundational level, we've got SMC-K. Now this tier is super unique because it's the only SMC level that is paid in addition to your standard disability pay. It's basically a flat rate add-on. You qualify for SMC-K if you've experienced the physical loss or the loss of use of a specific body part due to your service. We're talking a hand, a foot, your sight in one eye, or the loss of a creative organ. And what's really crucial to note here is that you can actually qualify for multiple SMC-K awards if you have multiple qualifying conditions, and those will just stack right on top of your base pay. Stepping up a rung, we hit SMC-S, also known as the housebound tier. Now, unlike K, SMC-S actually replaces your base rate entirely. The VA pays this higher rate to veterans who are substantially confined to their homes due to service-connected disabilities. But there's actually a second, purely mathematical way to qualify, even if you aren't literally stuck in your house. If you have one single condition rated at 100%, plus other separate conditions that combine to an additional 60%, you automatically qualify for SMC-S. As we keep climbing up into the L through O tiers, the compensation continues to replace your base pay, but with steadily increasing amounts. These letters represent escalating levels of truly profound hardship. So SMC-L often applies to veterans who are permanently bedridden, blind, or who need regular aid and attendance for just basic daily needs. When you move up to M and N, the system is compensating for even more extreme physical losses, like the loss of both arms near the shoulder. Finally, SMC-O sits near the very top of these physical criteria, typically reserved for veterans with full paralysis or maximum care requirements across multiple bodily systems. And finally, we reach the absolute apex of the system, the R and T tiers. These basically exist for one huge reason: keeping severely disabled veterans at home, where they belong, rather than in a hospital or nursing facility. SMC-R is for folks who already max out at the O level but require daily personal assistance. If that care is so advanced that it literally has to be supervised by a licensed healthcare professional, like an RN or a physical therapist, you move to SMC-R2.
And SMC-T is specifically designed for veterans with severe traumatic brain injuries who require that exact same intense R.2 level of exceptional care just to avoid being permanently institutionalized.
All right, on to Section 4, 2026 rates and financial stakes. Let's look at the real-world impact of climbing this ladder.
Just looking at these 2026 monthly base rates, a standard 100% rate for a single veteran with no dependents sits at about $3,900. But watch what happens when you qualify for a mid-tier level like SMC-L, say because you need basic aid and attendance. That jumps to almost $5,000 a month. And if you reach the apex tiers of SMC R2 or T, the benefit absolutely skyrockets. Yeah, you're seeing that right. It skyrockets to over $11,270. That is entirely tax-free every single month for a single veteran. We aren't just talking about a slight bump in pay here. This is a massive financial intervention by the VA, and it directly reflects the intense, incredibly expensive, round-the-clock daily care required at that top tier. Breaking these stepping stones down a bit more, that SMC-K add-on we talked about, that'll give you almost $140 extra per month for each qualifying loss. But the moment you hit SMC-S at over $4,400, your base pay is completely replaced, and it just scales all the way up through the L and R tiers. And keep in mind, these are just the baseline rates for a single veteran. Because here's the thing, when you start factoring in dependents, like spouses, kids, or dependent parents, the numbers climb even higher. If a veteran is at the highest tier and has a spouse who also requires aid and attendance, we're talking a household payout that can top $11,850 a month. That means for the most severe cases, this tax-free benefit becomes an absolute lifeline, exceeding $135,000 annually for families trying to navigate catastrophic injuries. Let's wrap things up with Section 5, how to claim your benefits. Time to take some action. So legally speaking, the VA is actually supposed to automatically grant you SMC when the medical evidence in your file justifies it. It's what they call an inferred claim. But let's be real about navigating this system. Relying on the VA to catch a complex SMC calculation is super risky, and it gets overlooked or misapplied all the time. Proactive advocacy on your end is absolutely essential. You literally need to explicitly tell them what you qualify for. So here's what you actually need to do. First up, figure out your eligibility tier based on your functional limitations, not just your specific diagnoses. Second, you absolutely must gather airtight medical evidence. We're talking recent C&P exams, really detailed letters from specialists like your neurologist, and records from physical therapists. Third, if you're seeking housebound status or aid in attendance, you have to submit VA Form 21-2680. And finally, if you realize the VA should have awarded you SMC years ago based on your existing records, you need to file a supplemental claim to get that error corrected. I think this quote really hits the nail on the head. Even the government recognizes that a 100% rating does not represent the end of the journey. It's a formal acknowledgement that the journey of care and the steep financial requirements of that care extend way beyond the standard limits. For catastrophic injuries, this standard scale just plain isn't enough to provide a dignified life. So I want to leave you with this thought as we wrap up today's explainer. 100% is not the end of the line. If you or a loved one are dealing with profound service-connected limitations, you really need to review your ratings, understand your functional needs, and ask yourself, are you truly receiving all the benefits you and your family have earned? Do not let a misunderstanding of these rules keep you from the vital support you absolutely deserve.